Boy, I'll tell you what, this dog Daisy, she sure has the life. Oh, I'm sorry to have woken you up there, Daisy. You know, you have some listings you got to do. We got to go out sourcing on Saturday morning. You know, you got to get up already. There's stuff we got to do. Primetime Treasure headquarters. Let's go. What we got to do? I do got someone coming over. We got a couple people coming over to purchase some things on Saturday morning. Let's go check out what we're going to sell some people for some local marketplace sales. Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Welcome back to another video. It's early in the morning on a Saturday. It's around 6 o'clock. So just starting up and getting things going here. A couple orders that came in last night that I'm processing right now, and I'm going to show you those and then kind of tell you what the plan is for the day. Real quick, this one right here was a tie that I found at an estate sale with my daughter last year. Just had it sitting around, decided to list it. It has trains on it. Trains, as you may remember, were a theme that showed up a couple of times in my last video, which was called 10 items that I sold for over $100 each in the month of July 2019. And I wanted to clarify something that I said in that video when I went back and looked at it. I did that so late at night, I accidentally said that, or made it sound like that every single item in my eBay store last month sold for over $100. That's not true. Every item that was in the top 10 for the first time was over $100. I sell plenty of things that are less than $100 in my eBay store. That would be a great goal, that everything would be over $100, but that's not the case. So like, this is a great example. This one right here, you know, pick up for like 25 cents, sold for $9.99. So you know, you just put it in a little, you know, eBay envelope like this, and it goes out for like, you know, $3.27 or something. So you make like $5 on it, you know, no big deal. Just a quick, it's just very quick and easy. You just put it, I put it in like a little you know, baggie like this, and then just put it in here and off it goes. So very quick, easy, simple. Then the other thing that I'm packing up here is comic books. Once again, you see how well I'm doing over and over with these stacks. Now this is 37 Superman comic books. The reason I got the number 39 is it's sold for $39.99. So you may think from hearing that, well, that's not that great. That's only about, you know, $1 a comic book. I could do that at, you know, a flea market, and you can. That's true. You're probably not going to sell all 39 of them though. At a flea market, you're going to sell them like $1 a piece. Someone's going to come by here or there, pick up one, pick up two. So this is a much better venue to do that type of thing. When I sell items in lots like this, in terms of comic books, I will never ever sell them for less than $1 a piece. It just doesn't make sense to do that. So for this one, I just set the price at $39.99, and I left it there. I didn't want to have any, you know, kind of room open for negotiation on it, because then I'd wind up having to go lower than the 37. So just keep that in mind when you're selling the comic book lots, to not put them for less than $1 a piece. Now I could still make profit on it if I did that, because these are all just leftover Superman comic books from a bunch of other collections that I had. I just kind of put together, and they're ones that I'm already in profit on. So whatever I sell this for, like, even if I sold it for $30, it still would be profit. I mean, so, you know, you could do that if you want to, but, you know, I really try to avoid that, you know, if I can. So that's that. What I decided to do for the day is to stay in. So it's Saturday, Mrs. Primetime's going out to work, both my kids are home, and I have got two people coming over for some Facebook Marketplace deals to purchase things from me that I have picked up at estate sales. One of which is those wooden golf clubs, if you remember those. So I've got those in Primetime Treasure Shed Quarters. We're going to go out and check those out in just a moment. I'll tell you how much we're going to get for those. And the other one is a nice chest that I bought at an estate. So it's a metal chest. It's pretty cool, like a trunk. It's pretty neat, and so I'm going to show you that one as well. That one I don't think I ever filmed, because initially we just bought that thinking we'd just use it for us. Mrs. Primetime was primarily interested in it, but then she just started downscaling and said, let's just put it on Facebook Marketplace. So we do that every once in a while as well. I have a lot of stuff that I want to get listed today. The week has been so busy. Yesterday I had 7 items that sold. Every single one of them was under $100. The best one was one of those Star Wars toys that I purchased, the Twin Pod Cloud Car. That one sold for 90 bucks. So it was a great day overall, lots of sales. But you know, when I'm working at my regular full-time job during the week and I'm working on my medical website on the side, it doesn't give me a lot of opportunity to list sometimes during the weekdays. And so I got to take advantage of periods like this and just try to do like a listing day. It could really help doing that in terms of bringing in more profit to your business if you're listing, because you can't sell things unless you're listing it. So keep that in mind. It's easier to do this if you have a lot of inventory. You know, if you're just starting out, then you may want to keep going out on the weekends and keep building up that inventory, especially in the summertime, because when the winter time comes, those opportunities are going to dry up. So it really depends on where you're at. I have enough stuff right now that I have no problem lasting through the winter at all, even if I decided not to go out and source anything. So, again, just depends on your situation. So I'm going to pack these up, and then we're going to go out to Primetime Treasure Shed Quarters. The guy's coming at 8 o'clock in the morning. Let me get these packed up. Okay, so before we go out to the shed, I figured I might as well show you this. I haven't showed this in a long time, so if you're new to my channel, this is what I do for big lots of comic books like this. I've talked before about the sandwiching technique, in which you just take 2 pieces of cardboard and you cover the comic books with those, and then you just tape them together. But when you're dealing with a large lot of comic books, that's not going to be sufficient, because the sides are going to start sliding out through the tape for heavy items like that. So it's okay if you have a few. I would say 16 or less you could do that technique with just 2 pieces of cardboard. But once you start getting into more than that, you need to start considering making your own custom box. And so here is the 2 sides of cardboard that I would typically use. But then what I do is I just take some spare cardboard pieces that I have laying around from other projects where I was cutting things up, and then I just line it up right here on the space. I just trim it down real fast and I just tape it over. These, I guarantee you, are never going to get damaged. No matter what happens, you're going to put these inside of another box and send them out. So it's essentially like double boxing the comics, creating your own custom box. Again, it's a little extra step, but collectors love it, and you will have peace of mind that your items are not going to get damaged in the mail. And this kind of thing with collectors will get you repeat customers, because they're going to be confident and say, hey, I'm going to order those comics from Primetime because I know that when he ships them out, that they're not going to get damaged. They're going to be well protected. There's a lot of people out there who ship comic books in a really shoddy way, and it drives collectors crazy. I know, as someone who is also a collector, and could not stand how some people ship stuff. So that's one of the reasons I ship things the way that I do, is because I ship them the way I would want to receive them. And that is a good tip for you to think about when you're shipping something. Okay, well, let's head over to Primetime Treasure Shed Quarters, and I could show you these golf clubs. They are vintage wooden golf clubs. There's 42 of them in total. You can see here I still have some more things that I've got to get listed, some trains and Star Wars stuff, but it is shrinking. I am getting the stuff listed. Over here, we've got the golf clubs. Now, there's 42 total. You could see these are vintage wooden golf clubs. When I originally purchased them, and I have a haul video about a month ago where I found them towards the end of the video, there were 5 stacks of them that were kind of tied together for $2 a piece. The person who was selling them was basically the wife of someone who owned a golf course, and so I was just getting rid of these, which I guess were just extras sitting around. And if you remember at the time, they had rust up and down all of the shafts, and so I showed in the video that you could just like take a little test spot and rub up and down. You could see that the rust would come right off. So all I had to do is take an aluminum scouring pad that had a little soap on it already, and just go up and down with it, and just wiped right off. Didn't even really have to use any elbow grease on it. So now look at those. They are nice and shiny. If you compare this to what they look like in the video, it just looked great. So you have to be able to see past that stuff when you're at the sales. That's why they were so cheap, because no one wanted to no one wanted to purchase them having the rust spots on them, but they clean right off. The rubber grips were a little dusty, so I just had to take a rag with some water, just, wipe it up and down, dry it off. And also use a little wood cleaner on the bottom part here with paper towel, just to shine those up, make them look nice and spiffy. Because, when you list them and when the person comes over, you want them to look nice and clean, so it facilitates the sale. The person who's coming over is actually, I posted these on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Let Go, Offer Up. I did have an inquiry on Facebook Marketplace, but we couldn't make a deal when I had them priced higher. The lowest I was going to go on them is $100, which is what I have them for now, and that's the plan, to sell them for $100 this morning to a guy who responded on Craigslist, who's driving an hour and a half away for these. So I let him know, and it's important, just tell the person if you're firm that you're firm, and I highly recommend not accepting any cash denominations more than $20 bills, so you avoid any kind of counterfeiting and stuff like that. So hopefully the guy comes over, and we'll see. And this is the other item I plan to sell later on this morning. The guy for the golf club is supposed to come at 8. This guy's supposed to come at 9. This is the trunk I was telling you about. We picked it up for $5 at an estate sale. It does have the original keys, which are in here. It's pretty cool. It's super heavy, but it's a neat item. I really liked it, but we just don't have a use for it. So we tried to get $50 out of it. No one was really biting. In fact, it was even hard to get someone to agree to pay $30 for it. The most people seemingly wanted to pay for this was $20, but we got someone who wants to pay $30 for it, and so we are going to try to facilitate that deal as well. Okay, everyone, well, you can see that the golf clubs are gone. They just came, picked it up, $100 sale right there. So yeah, you can't beat that for a $10 investment on some clubs, just a light cleanup, and there you go, they are out the door. So we're going to wait for the person to come up and pick up the trunk, hopefully in a few minutes. Just made a $45 sale on eBay. So a great start to the day, just sitting at home. So if you're wondering why I'm in my car, you thought I wasn't doing any sourcing today. Well, I'm not, but I had a small window of opportunity to go out to the post office to drop off the tie and the box of comic books. I was going to go down there anyway because it's just a few minutes from Primetime Treasure headquarters. It's where I like to go for a doodash. Right across the street is a little gas station, sells like little snacks and drinks. And if you're wondering what a doodash is, that's what I go when I grab a bottle or two of Mountain Dew for the weekend, and I'm just looking out to see if the guy's coming for this trunk sale. And while I was in there, one of the things that I found, for those of you who like Sour Patch Kids, it's one of my favorite sweet snacks. I've loved them since I was a teenager. My favorite color is the blue ones, the blue raspberry. And I always said they should come out with a bag that's just all blue raspberry. And sure enough, they actually just came out with that, all blue. So if you go and look inside, you'll see all the blue ones. It's awesome. So I am loaded up with sweet stuff for the weekend, and gonna have a fun time doing some listing and snacking on these every once in a while. So I think the trunk guy's here right now. Okay, so that was the person who picked up the trunk. It actually was a nice couple. The lady who wanted it, she sets up these little scavenger hunts around Christmas time. And so she decorates these trunks like treasure chests, which is ironic since she's buying them. She doesn't know this, but she's buying them from the Primetime Treasure Hunter. And she's gonna decorate it as a treasure chest. She puts like chains around it and stuff. So that's really cool. So this is where it was before. And there we go. $30 for that. So, it's 9 o'clock in the morning and have already made $175. So $100 for the golf clubs, $30 for this, and $45 for the eBay sale. So I'm going to do some listing. I'm going to show you one of the items that I'm going to list right now. So that's right over here. This is all the cardboard I've got to cut up and prep for later. So, but let me show you this right here. This is a giant dictionary. Whenever you see ones this big, I highly advise picking them up. I normally find them at estate sales, but this one actually found in a church rummage sale a couple of years ago. We got it for just 25 cents. They normally will sell for around $50, but people ignore them because of the size. But remember, that's going to ship out media mail, so it's not going to cost a lot of money. This one dates back to 1945. Now with these dictionaries, you usually have to flip the pages a little bit to get to the part that's going to show you the actual year of the book and the edition. So I'm going to show you that right here. You can see there, this is 1945, and it's the second edition unabridged. But they're really cool if you've never seen them before. They have like little illustrations inside and stuff, like you could see here. And they normally, like most dictionaries, have little tabs for the letters. But really cool item. So I'm going to list that right now and see how much we could get done today. Okay, now what barriers do you have to listing? This is what I have to deal with when I sit here, with my computer. I'm trying to get some listings done, and I get attacked by a Shih Tzu. And there's a dictionary right there. See, so I'm trying to get it listed, and she will just come after me like this. She wants me to push her back, and then she comes flying after me. So, this is basically what I deal with until she gets tired for about, let's say, this is going to take like 5 minutes. If I stop, if I don't do anything, what's going to happen? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? She's going to start, see, look at this. She starts pawing at my hand, look. See? So if I have it on the laptop, there's just she just does not stop. She's just relentless. So I gotta play with her so I could get stuff listed. So just wanted to show you what I have to deal with sometimes here. Okay, so the dictionary is listed for $49.99. I didn't even put best offer on it. I just put it as buy it now because that's a very fair market value for that. And I know based on my experience selling those dictionaries that someone will come across and just purchase it at that price. Now the items that I sold for $45, I want to show you them right here. I actually showed you them last week when I was going through that long box of comic books that I purchased for $200. It also had a lot of graphic novels in them, many of which were sealed. And I showed you this one, if you remember, it's called Casanova, and it's a 3-volume set. That's a complete set. I had it for $49.99. Person offered me $45, and I just took the offer. So that's how quickly you could get a nice chunk of money back from one of those big long boxes. If you remember, the key items that I found in that comic book box, or that I was able to get in that comic book box, I added to it. It was a bunch of cherry-picked things that I put in there, were the 4 Blazing Combat issues. I currently have those listed for $300, and have a few watchers on that one. So we'll see what happens with that. But already off to a good start with that box. So I want to pack these up because it's just enough time to still get it out with the post office. It's 10:30 in the morning. So hopefully, even though I don't have a pickup request put in, I'm going to show you what I do to handle that when I didn't put a pickup request and it won't fit in the mailbox, and I want them to know that I have an item that's up on my porch. How do I let them know that? How do I do that without having to drive to the post office again? I'll tell you in just a second. All right, so here's our box on the porch with the 3 books in it. Daisy's looking out for the mail lady, and I don't have a pickup request put in. So what I did was I wrote up this little note here and 2-piece little tape, and I'm gonna just put that right on the mailbox. So just like that, don't forget to put the flag up, because if they wind up doing a package drop-off at your porch, they may miss the package that's sitting there, ironically, and never have gotten to the mailbox to see your little sign. So again, make sure you put that up, but this always gets me a pickup if I didn't have a chance to put one in. Okay, so you may remember some prior episodes where I wound up sourcing large amounts of Mad magazines, and I told you that I amassed them to a certain amount and then I start selling them off in lots. And so right here you could see that I have a whole bunch of these things all set to go. I've got to just do some work in terms of sorting them and figure out how best that I want to put them in lots. So that's the next step of what I'm going to do. But these Mad magazines and these lots, they could sell for hundreds of dollars depending on what you've got in there. So always keep those in mind. Mad magazines. Okay, so I wanted to show you the result of processing those big stacks that I had accumulated at these different sales. Basically what we have it down to are these different groups here. And essentially what we have here is a small little stack of 1960s Mad magazines. This whole stack right here, these are all 1970s Mad magazines. Over here, we've got an entire stack of 1980s Mad magazines and a small little bit of 1990s Mad magazines. So what will probably make the most sense, because Mad magazine collectors like to buy things according to certain eras, is to combine this small little 60s stack with the 70s, and then we have a 60s and 70s Mad magazine lot. So that's lot number one. Then we could do a 1980s and a 1990s one, so we combine that as well. These are all doubles, and I could probably just sell this small little lot of doubles, which is all 70s and 80s books, so that's another thing. There were a few that did not have covers, but what I could do is, it's hard to sell ones without covers, but when you have this many, and this is Cracked magazine, by the way, that's like a sister magazine to Mad. There's another one called Crazy, and you actually see there's a stack of them right here. These are all from the 1970s, and then in the back there's the ones called Crazy. Let me show you those right here. So this is Crazy. These were made by Marvel. So there were different magazines that were like this that just tried to parody things in society with funny covers and funny comics inside. But while this would be hard to sell individually as like a stack of coverless comics, comic magazines, what you could do, since you have this many here, you could just take these and include them and just basically say they're throw-ins. So people will take them that way. And then, I forgot, but if you remember my, my haul video where I picked up some of these Mad magazines at the flea market, there were these Flying Review magazines. These were some vintage airplane magazines, so I'm going to sell those as well in a lot. This is a random Bugs Bunny magazine that I just had, so I'll just put that to the side and do something with it later when I have a Bugs Bunny related item. But so essentially from that big set of stacks, we have probably one sale, two right here, so it'll be two lots to sell. This will be a third one right here. This will be a fourth one. This will be integrated into the others, and this will be 5. And there might even be another. I always tell people to look through the magazines. You never know what you'll find in there. And there's a Mad magazine artist, he's a comic artist named Don Martin, very, very famous artist. And the person was collecting these little sketches, or you know, little kind of like a fake frame around it with Don Martin art on it. And so I don't think it will sell, but you never know. I could look into it and see. But you know, that's just why you have to look through those magazines, because you never know what you're going to find inside of them. So overall, not bad. Now we got to get to organizing them and listing them. All right, so I'm going to show you some examples of these covers because they're great. If you love the 80s, you're going to love some of these covers. I told you they kind of parody things that are going on in society at the time, so they're really a great look back. I mean, some of the covers are these super specials, and they don't always have something on there that matches, you know, a theme going on in society. Those are more for the regular issues. Don't worry about the damage. Occasionally you're going to see some creases and some tears, some detached covers even. Here's a great one of Yoda. They all have Alfred E. Newman. That's what he really looks like right there. And they would tend to blend his face into the covers like this. Again, it's really hard to miss a Mad magazine because it's just so blatant in terms of the cover. But here's one where they kind of parody comic books, which is, you know, funny for me, or comic strips. This is a great one with Clark Kent on the cover. This is again super special, so it's, you know, not so much of a parody on the cover. They're again super special, but here we've got one, let's see, Charles Darwin, so they're making fun of him. Here we've got a Mickey Mouse one. This is an example of one of these creases I'm talking about. Doesn't matter. Mad collectors are used to them having creases in them. Here is the a Superman one. And by the way, the reason why people are used to them having creases in them is that on the back of every Mad magazine is a trifold. So you would basically fold these things in on one another. You see that? And then it would make some kind of picture that you would do like an activity with. So it's very common for the backs of these to be creased like this. So, if they're not creased, of course it will add value, but I'm just saying that's why people are used to having them like this. This is a sticker album. It came out in 1983 when sticker albums were all the rage. There are some of the stickers in it, which if you were trying to sell this individually, you couldn't really move it, but this is why buying in bulk really helps, because you can include it in the bulk lot, and just like you could include some of those coverless ones, and that's how you get rid of them. Let's see here. Here's one where they're making fun of like a science movie, science fiction movie. There's just some kind of things they would put on the covers like this that you really wouldn't really see too much these days. In the 80s, you could really get away with a lot. Here's a gymnastics or circus kind of related one. This one here, they did a lot of like Disney parody stuff. So you saw the Mickey Mouse one earlier. That's the Seven Dwarves. Let's see here. Let's get to some other ones. There we've got Michael Jackson. He was on the cover a couple times. Statue of Liberty flying into his ear and or her ear and cleaning it out. Rock and roll, obviously very big in the 80s, and so you've got that funny thing with the rock on it. Ronald Reagan was on a lot of the covers as well, so you'll see an example of him here. You'll see one coming up a little bit later. There's Beverly Hills Cop on the top as well. There's again one of those specials, and that's Don Martin, who I was just talking about earlier. Let's see here. Again, with the risque kind of covers, and they just kind of see whatever they get away with. There's Reagan again with Rambo. Could you really get more of an 80s cover than that one? Pretty funny. Back to the Future. How great is that? 1985 right there. Oh my gosh. Miami Vice with Don Johnson. That's hilarious. And there's just so many funny things with this. This one, they're kind of making fun, it looks like, of Howdy Doody, it seems. With that one. This is great. This is actually my favorite one with Hulk Hogan. I was a big wrestling fan back in the day. I still am, but I love that Hulk Hogan cover. That's hilarious. This one is also awesome if you love the Garbage Pail Kids, and they are worth so much money if you could find Garbage Pail Kids, by the way. But this cover is great with Alfred E. Newman imitating one of the Garbage Pail Kids. This one I remember the most because I 100% had this one as a kid. I used to read it all the time with Joan Rivers on it and Tony Danza. There's Pat Sajak, Fred Flintstone, Johnny Carson, Bill Cosby. It's hilarious. Looks like you got Cookie Monster down there too. Top Gun. They're coming out with another Top Gun movie now, so it's funny just looking back, seeing the original. Here we got an Aliens cover, Max Headroom from the Coca-Cola commercials. This one they're making fun of Bruce Springsteen right here, so that's pretty funny. Again, these are more of their kind of just special books. Alf, if Jessie Shops is watching this, I know she loves Alf, so there you go. I put that in there to show you that. And then you'd have, again, these ones with these assorted characters. On the cover, Tom Selleck, Three Men and a Baby, Ted Danson, Ghostbusters for all you Ghostbuster fans, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So if you like the 70s, I'm not going to show the whole 70s stack here, but they did the same kind of thing with 70s themes. So again, if you could find these, I'm showing you these titles and these covers so that you're more aware of them. If you don't do anything like this, trust me, these sell really well. Now, if space is tight and you're looking for a good display area, you need something with big size to it, but you don't, again, really have the space for it, I'm going to show you something that you could get that will really help out with that. So we're going to start off putting up the 60s and 70s magazine lot, and before I had them on this table that had this half combined with this half, but that's not enough. I need more space than that. So what I have is one of these tables that opens up. It has these little pins underneath, and you just basically slide the pin over and it will open up, and you pull these leaves out and you just attach it like that. And then, you would take this one and slide it over like this, and you see the pins just go into the holes like that, and then you just put it together like that, and then all you got to do is just slide it in, and you're set. And now I have this big, giant display area where I could put all of these magazines. Now, normally, we don't keep this like this. We normally tuck the leaves inside, but for a temporary situation like this, this is a good option for display that you could get at a furniture store. So I want to pass that tip on to you. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I set up one of these in terms of a display strategy for that initial picture. This is the 1960s and 70s lot. And so there's 55 of them, and I have them set up in 5 columns of 11. And generally they follow sequence, but what I like to do is make sure that this front row, because this is what people are going to initially look at. You know, it's your first impression. You only get one chance to make that first impression. And so this one will be my oldest one, and it's also cool. It has Frankenstein on it. This one has the middle finger, so that's obviously going to stick out to somebody. This is Charles Bronson from Death Wish. We've got a Jaws cover and a Rocky cover. So I try to make that initial picture as iconic as possible that they're going to see from the cover. Because, you know, think about it. What's going to draw someone in more to look at the photos? If I have this one as the lead, or let's say I had, you know, this one as the lead instead and covered up the Jaws, and I did that across here, well, that's going to be a problem. There's going to be less interest. So you want to draw people in. It's just some buyer psychology as much as possible with that. And I'll straighten that out before I take the photo. But then I could just go overhead like this and just kind of pull the lamp back like that, and I'll get a nice overhead shot. Just like that, I clear the background of any distraction. And remember, I have 12 pictures, so that would be 11 after this one with 55. You could do 11 close-ups of 5, or however you want to divide it. But that's pretty much what I do, and I'm going to do that with the rest of the sets. So I just listed the 55 Mad magazines from the 1960s and 1970s on eBay for $225. That's really upper end in terms of what you could expect for that many issues for that era of Mad magazines. Now, they may sell for that amount as a buy it now, but I may take a best offer on it a little bit later and sell them for less. I'm sure I'll update you in a later video in terms of what ultimately winds up happening with those. Now, there's 50 of them from the 1980s and the 1990s. I'm going to list those next and try to remember by the end of the video to tell you what I wound up listing those for. I just haven't come to a final decision on that yet. But what I want to do now is turn to a be on the lookout item for you. It's something that just sold in my eBay store about an hour ago. It's this statue right here that some of you may remember seeing at the end of an estate sale that I went to. It's in a haul video that I did about a month or so ago. When I walked up to the statue in the room, it was sitting there with a price tag on it for $28. Now, I ultimately wound up getting it for about $10 because they had 60% off on it. Plus, I wound up bundling it with some things at the end of the sale to get it for about that price. Now, the reason I think it was still sitting there is because if you look closely at it, you'll notice that it has some chipping on the ceramic and it has some paint loss on it. And so other people who saw it may have been turned off by that. There could be some people who saw it that were resellers who may think that, nah, it's not going to sell because it has damage to it. But that does not matter for these types of busts. And there's something very specific about this type of Jesus statue that you need to know about that would cue you in that this is one that would have more value. Don't get me wrong, you'll get more money out of it if it doesn't have the chips and it doesn't have the paint loss, but it still will sell for a nice return on investment if you could source it low enough, like I just said. Now, the thing about this statue that is very important is that it says Saint Cristo de Lampias. Now, I mistakenly said in the video where I sourced this that this is a French statue. I don't even know why I said that looking back on it, but this is a Spanish-inspired statue. And the reason you know that is the city of Lampias right there. That is the birthplace of the father or priest who actually donated the original 6-foot-tall statue on a crucifix that had this type of facial expression on it. It's the facial expression that is really key, because what that statue and crucifix was intended to portray is those last moments of ultimate agony during the crucifixion, and also just really deep meditation and prayer and looking upwards towards the heavens. People who have seen that statue, that crucifix, report coming out of the church, as the Church of St. Peter in Spain, of being just completely overwhelmed with emotion. And so you have to remember that as a reseller, you are filling other people's needs. And so while it may sound somewhat crass to be talking about selling religious items and religious busts and things like that, again, you have to remember there's people out there that want these types of items because they fulfill a spiritual need for them. And so they're willing to pay for the items, and you're actually doing a good thing by supplying them with something that they want. I don't think it's anything that, again, that you should feel guilty about. There's plenty of people who are selling rosary beads and Bibles and, you know, religious manuals and things like that. This is very similar, right along those lines. And there are also people who collect these types of items too. And so people get great joy out of this. So again, just want to mention that, because I have had a few people tell me over the years that some people have told me they actually feel guilty making money off of selling religious items. But again, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Again, people want to give you that money because you are giving them something that that they desire. Now, these busts can sell for up to a little bit over $100. The ones that will sell for that amount, like up in that range, tend to have a more prominent head tilt looking upwards towards the heaven. They tend to have a more prominent pained facial expression on the, you know, really like the capturing of the emotion is the key thing to the value. Or to greater value. Also, the ones that tend to sell for more, I know this doesn't sound nice, but have more blood on it, actually, like more blood on the chest area. Now, this one just has some very faint areas of blood on it. For those reasons, I think that's why this one didn't sell for the $100 range, but it still sold for $60. So it ultimately is a good return on investment. And so I would advise you, if you do see these out there, this is a 16-inch tall one, and you know, the size isn't necessarily really the key to the value on these. Ones that have sold for over $100 have been a little bit shorter than this, even like 12.5 inches. Again, it's really all those other features to it. They're all designed a little bit different. And again, the ones that capture more of that pained expression and just show the suffering actually more vividly, that's what it is that adds additional value onto it, in addition to it saying St. Cristo de Limpaya. So I gotta pack this up. This will be double boxed. Ceramic items, I almost always double box them, because if not, no matter what you do, they tend to get damaged. So that is the only fail-safe way I have come up with to prevent these ceramic items from getting damaged, is double boxing them. Bubble wrap alone is not sufficient in my experience. So just passing that on to you. So I listed these bad boys for $185. These are the 50 Mad magazines from the 80s and 90s. So I told you I'd update you on the final price on that. So got a lot of stuff listed today, hundreds of dollars of stuff listed, made hundreds of dollars in sales. And, you know, that's just a behind the scenes look at what I would do on a day that I'm not outsourcing. I'm still doing stuff related to running the business, as well as, you know, doing some family stuff during the day as well, which of course I, you know, don't put out on video. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and check out my Facebook group if you liked all these kind of little tips. We've got tons of them in the group by me and by others. We're almost at 11,000 members in there, and we'd love for you to join if you're not currently a member. And it's free to join. The link's down below, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, and follow me over on Instagram. That's @prime_time_treasure. Don't forget to subscribe. Live show Wednesday night, 9 p.m. It's going to be amazing.